Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to another exciting and engaging episode of our English Learning Podcast. My name is Adam, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Julia, who brings so much energy and expertise to our discussions.
Hi, everyone. It is absolutely wonderful to have you here with us again today. Whether you are someone who is just beginning to learn English, or you have been on this journey for a while and are looking to refine your skills, this podcast is designed just for you. You've come to the perfect place to grow your English knowledge and confidence.
That's exactly right, Julia. And today's episode is going to be one of the most important and exciting ones yet, because we're talking about a topic that is not just useful, but absolutely essential for anyone who is serious about achieving English fluency. The world is changing rapidly, and English is becoming more important than ever. Our topic today is all about the top 10 skills you need for fluent English in 2025.
Yes, and when we say skills, we don't just mean knowing grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary. While those things are important, becoming truly fluent in English involves developing a wide range of skills that help you communicate effectively, confidently, and naturally in different situations.
Exactly. Think about it. Whether you're having a casual conversation with a friend, presenting ideas in a business meeting, or even traveling to a new country, the ability to use English fluently and comfortably opens up so many doors and opportunities. In 2025, English fluency will be even more critical as the world becomes more interconnected, and mastering these skills will set you apart.
That's why we're so excited about this episode. We're not just going to list the top 10 skills. We're going to break each one down, explain why it's important, and give you practical tips and strategies to develop them. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear roadmap to follow for improving your English fluency and achieving your goals.
And speaking of goals, let's take a moment to talk about one of ours. One of our biggest goals is to create a community where English learners like you can come together to learn, grow, and succeed. That's why we started our YouTube channel, The English Globe, where we share tons of free and valuable content to help you on your English learning journey.
Absolutely. So if you haven't already, we'd love for you to take a moment to subscribe to our channel. It's called The English Globe, and it's packed with tips, tricks, and practical lessons that will help you achieve fluency faster. Plus, when you subscribe, you'll get notified about our latest videos and podcast episodes, so you'll never miss a chance to learn something new.
And don't forget to hit the notification bell after you subscribe. That way, you'll be the first to know whenever we post fresh content. It's a small action, but it makes a big difference for us and helps us continue to create the resources you need to succeed.
Yes, and we'd also love to hear from you. So after this podcast, head over to the comments section on our channel and let us know what skills you're most excited to work on. Your feedback inspires us and helps us create content that's tailored to your needs.
All right, everyone. We're so thrilled to have you with us today. So grab a notebook, settle into a comfortable spot, and get ready because we're about to dive deep into the top 10 skills you need to become fluent in English in 2025. Let's get started. Now that we've set the stage for today's discussion, let's take a moment to talk about why skills are so important when it comes to learning English. Learning a language is a journey, and like any journey, it requires certain tools and abilities to help you navigate successfully. Think about it. When you start learning English, it's not just about memorizing words or grammar rules. It's about building the skills that allow you to use what you've learned effectively in real-life situations. Without these skills, even the most extensive vocabulary or perfect grammar might not help you communicate clearly or confidently.
Exactly, Adam. Skills are the foundation of effective language learning because they take the knowledge you've gained and turn it into practical abilities. For example, you might know how to construct a sentence using proper grammar, but without good listening skills, you might struggle to understand native speakers in a conversation. Or you might have a strong vocabulary, but without confidence and the ability to speak fluently, you might hesitate to use those words in real life. This is why developing a well-rounded set of skills is essential. It ensures that you're not just learning English, but truly mastering it in a way that feels natural and effortless.
That's such a good point, Julia. And one thing we've noticed is that many learners focus a lot on studying, but sometimes neglect the importance of skills development. For instance, they might spend hours memorizing grammar rules, but still find it difficult to write an email or hold a conversation. That's because knowing the rules is just one part of the equation. Skills, on the other hand, are what allow you to apply those rules in meaningful and effective ways. Skills bridge the gap between theory and practice, turning what you've learned into something you can actually use in your daily life.
Yes, and the beauty of focusing on skills is that it makes your learning experience more dynamic and engaging. Instead of just reading from a textbook, you get to interact, practice, and experiment. Developing skills like listening, speaking, and writing helps you see immediate progress because you're using the language in real-world contexts. This not only boosts your confidence, but also motivates you to keep going because you can actually see how far you've come. Plus, these skills are transferable, meaning they can help you in a variety of situations, from casual conversations to professional settings.
Absolutely, Julia. And that brings us to why we're focusing on the top 10 skills in today's episode. These skills are not random. They've been carefully selected based on their importance in helping learners achieve fluency. Each skill addresses a specific aspect of language learning and plays a unique role in your journey to becoming fluent in English. For example, listening skills help you understand native speakers and pick up on subtle nuances, while vocabulary-building skills expand your ability to express yourself clearly. Together, these skills form a comprehensive toolkit that will empower you to communicate effectively in any situation.
And what's even more exciting is that these skills aren't just for beginners or advanced learners. They're universal. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning English for years, these skills will help you improve and grow. The key is to approach them with a mindset of curiosity and consistency. Don't think of them as obstacles or challenges. Think of them as opportunities to enhance your abilities and become the best version of yourself as an English speaker.
That's such an inspiring way to look at it, Julia. And I think it's important to mention that these skills are not just about fluency, they're also about building connections. When you develop skills like confidence, cultural understanding, and effective communication, you're not just improving your English. You're also opening doors to new friendships, career opportunities, and experiences. English is a global language, and having these skills gives you the ability to connect with people from different cultures, backgrounds, and industries. It's about more than just speaking. It's about engaging with the world in a meaningful way.
Yes, and that's why we're so excited to share these top 10 skills with you. Over the next hour and a half, we're going to break down each skill in detail, explain why it's important, and give you practical tips on how to develop it. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear roadmap to follow, along with actionable steps you can take to start improving your English today. So, if you've ever felt stuck or unsure about what to focus on next, this episode is going to be a game changer for you.
And just to give you a sneak peek, these skills include everything from listening and speaking to grammar and confidence. We'll also talk about some skills you might not have considered before, like cultural understanding and the importance of discipline and consistency. Each skill is a piece of the puzzle, and when you put them all together, you'll have a powerful toolkit that will help you navigate the English-speaking world with ease.
So, get ready to take notes and start thinking about how you can incorporate these skills into your learning routine. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress and enjoying the journey. And as we go through each skill, we'll share practical examples, real-life scenarios, and actionable advice that you can start using right away.
All right, everyone, we've got a lot to cover, so let's dive into our first skill. But before we do, we want to remind you that you can always revisit this podcast if you need a refresher. Learning is a process, and it's okay to take your time. Now, let's get started with our first skill, listening. Julia, why don't you kick us off? Let's dive into the first skill, listening, which forms the very foundation of learning and mastering any language, especially English. Listening is much more than merely hearing words or sounds. It involves understanding and interpreting the speaker's message, tone, emotions, and even the subtle nuances that come with natural speech. This skill is absolutely critical because if you cannot comprehend what is being said, responding effectively in a conversation becomes nearly impossible. In a world where English is the dominant global language for business, education, and social interaction, being an attentive and effective listener has never been more important than it will be in 2025.
Absolutely, Adam. Active listening is the key to unlocking your potential in English fluency because it enables learners to absorb not only the meaning of words, but also the cultural and contextual subtleties of the language. It's about focusing completely on the speaker, understanding their intent, and mentally processing their words to retain the information for future use. With English evolving so rapidly in our interconnected world, thanks to influences from different cultures, media, and technology, honing your listening skills can provide you with a significant edge in adapting to these changes.
One of the biggest challenges learners face is understanding native speakers, who may talk at lightning speed or use unfamiliar accents and idioms. To tackle this, beginners should start by listening to resources that match their level of understanding, such as podcasts designed for English learners, audiobooks narrated clearly and slowly, or even beginner-friendly videos. These materials help build your foundation by familiarizing you with common vocabulary, sentence structures, and standard pronunciations. Once you feel more confident, gradually expose yourself to authentic, real-world content like movies, news broadcasts, and interviews where natural speech patterns are evident.
That's a fantastic point, Adam. Learners should remember that passive listening, just hearing words without trying to understand, is not enough to develop fluency. Active engagement is necessary. For example, when listening to a podcast or watching a video, take the time to pause and replay segments that seem challenging and write down words or phrases that are new to you. Subtitles can also be a lifesaver when starting out, as they help you connect the spoken word with its written form. Over time, try to challenge yourself by listening without subtitles to test your comprehension.
Another highly beneficial strategy is exposing yourself to a wide variety of accents. English is spoken differently around the world, from the British and American accents to Australian, Indian, and African variations. Being familiar with these differences prepares you for real-world conversations with people from diverse backgrounds. Platforms like YouTube, international podcasts, and even language exchange apps can introduce you to this diversity. Additionally, setting aside just 10 to 15 minutes a day to listen to English in any form, be it radio, music, or casual conversations, can make a big difference over time.
Speaking of music, it's one of the most enjoyable ways to improve listening skills. Songs, especially those with lyrics available online, allow you to practice understanding pronunciation, rhythm, and slang. Audiobooks, on the other hand, are excellent for getting used to storytelling styles, which can help improve your ability to follow complex narratives. Both these methods make learning feel less like a chore and more like an enjoyable activity.
To summarize, active listening is an indispensable skill that requires consistent practice, focused attention, and a willingness to challenge yourself. It is the first step towards understanding, engaging, and ultimately mastering the English language. By prioritizing listening, you set a strong foundation that supports every other aspect of language learning.
Now, let's discuss speaking skills, which are essential for anyone aiming to achieve fluency in English. Speaking is often considered the most challenging part of learning a language because it requires you to think, formulate sentences, and express them correctly in real time. However, it is also the most rewarding skill because it allows you to connect with others, express your thoughts clearly, and participate in meaningful conversations.
One of the most common obstacles learners face when trying to improve their speaking skills is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of mispronouncing words, or fear of being judged by others. But it's crucial to understand that these fears are natural and can be overcome through consistent practice and positive reinforcement. Mistakes are not failures. They are stepping stones toward improvement. The more you practice, the more confident you will become in speaking fluently and naturally.
Speaking practice doesn't always have to involve another person. In fact, one of the simplest ways to get started is by speaking to yourself. Try describing your daily routine, talking about your goals, or narrating a story to yourself. This not only helps you get comfortable with forming sentences, but also allows you to identify areas where you might need improvement, such as vocabulary or grammar.
Another excellent strategy is finding a language partner or joining a conversation group, either in person or online. Conversing with others gives you the opportunity to use English in real-life scenarios, receive feedback, and develop your confidence. If you're unable to find a partner, technology offers many alternatives. Use voice recognition apps or virtual assistants to practice pronunciation, or participate in online language forums where you can engage in discussions at your own pace.
And let's not forget the power of role-playing. For example, imagine yourself in situations like ordering food at a restaurant, introducing yourself at a networking event, or asking for directions in a new city. Role-playing prepares you for these common scenarios, making you feel more comfortable and confident when they happen in real life.
Additionally, listening to native speakers is a great way to improve your speaking skills. Pay attention to how they use intonation, stress, and rhythm in their sentences. Mimic their pronunciation and try to replicate their style. Over time, you'll notice significant improvements in your own speaking abilities, as well as your confidence in engaging in conversations.
Remember, speaking is not just about the words you use, it's about how you use them. Clarity, confidence, and expression are just as important as vocabulary and grammar. Take your time, think before you speak, and don't be afraid to pause when needed. These small adjustments can make a big difference in how you communicate.
To sum up, speaking skills are essential for effective communication, and mastering them requires a mix of practice, persistence, and positivity. By embracing your mistakes, seeking out opportunities to converse, and actively listening to others, you'll gradually become a confident and fluent English speaker.
Moving on to our third essential skill, reading comprehension. This skill is vital for anyone who wants to achieve fluency in English because it allows you to not only understand written text, but also interpret, analyze, and critically engage with the content. Reading comprehension goes beyond recognizing words on a page. It involves grasping the meaning, context, and tone of the material you are engaging with. As we move closer to 2025, the ability to read and comprehend English texts will become even more significant due to the increasing reliance on digital communication, academic research, and global media.
Absolutely, Julia. Reading is one of the most effective ways to build your vocabulary, improve your grammar, and familiarize yourself with different writing styles. The challenge, however, lies in making reading both enjoyable and educational. Many learners struggle with long or complex texts, which can feel overwhelming. But the key is to start small and gradually increase the difficulty level of the material you read. For instance, if you are a beginner, focus on short articles, children's books, or simple stories designed specifically for language learners. These texts are usually written in an accessible style and use vocabulary that aligns with your current level of understanding.
That's a great point, Adam. Another important aspect of improving reading comprehension is understanding the context in which the material was written. For example, when you're reading a news article, try to pay attention to the main idea and supporting details, rather than getting stuck on every unfamiliar word. You don't need to know the meaning of every single word to understand the overall message. Instead, use context clues, such as the surrounding sentences or paragraphs, to infer the meaning of new words or phrases. Over time, This will not only enhance your reading skills, but also boost your confidence in tackling more complex texts.
And let's not forget the value of setting specific goals when reading. For example, if you're reading a story or a novel, you might set a goal to identify and learn 5 new words per chapter. If you're reading a textbook or a study guide, you might focus on summarizing the key points of each section. These small, manageable objectives make reading feel less daunting and more structured, which can help you stay motivated and focused.
In addition to traditional books and articles, there are numerous digital resources that can help you improve your reading comprehension. Apps like Kindle and other e-readers often come with built-in dictionaries, making it easier to look up unfamiliar words instantly. Websites that offer English learning materials, such as graded readers or simplified articles, are also excellent for learners at all levels. Moreover, online forums and discussion groups provide opportunities to engage with other readers, share your thoughts about what you've read, and even ask questions about confusing passages.
Another effective strategy is to read aloud, especially when you're just starting out. This helps you improve both your reading fluency and your pronunciation. By reading aloud, you can practice the natural rhythm and flow of sentences, which is particularly useful for improving your overall language skills. Pair this with listening to audiobooks or recordings of the same text so you can compare your pronunciation with that of a native speaker.
Lastly, we can't overemphasize the importance of making reading a habit. Even if you only spend 10 to 15 minutes a day reading something in English, be it a blog post, a poem, or even a series of text messages, you'll see significant improvements over time. Consistency is key, and the more you immerse yourself in the language, the more natural it will start to feel.
To summarize, reading comprehension is an indispensable skill that enhances your ability to understand, interpret, and engage with written texts. By starting with simple materials, setting achievable goals, and using digital tools to support your learning, you can gradually build your confidence and proficiency in this area. Reading not only opens the door to better communication, but also provides a wealth of knowledge and opportunities to grow as a language learner. Let's now focus on one of the most essential and often overlooked skills when it comes to mastering English: writing skills. Writing is more than just putting words on paper. It's about conveying your thoughts, ideas, and emotions in a way that is clear, logical, and engaging. As we look toward 2025, where the digital world continues to play a crucial role in communication, the ability to write well in English will be an invaluable skill. Whether you're writing emails, reports, essays, or even social media posts, your ability to express yourself accurately and effectively can make all the difference in how others perceive you, your ideas, and your professionalism.
Exactly, Adam. Writing is a skill that connects directly to your overall fluency in English. The clarity of your writing reflects the depth of your understanding of the language. While speaking allows for real-time interaction and spontaneous conversation, writing is a more deliberate process, requiring precision and careful thought. Writing well in English is important not only for academic and professional success, but also for day-to-day communication. In fact, with more people communicating through emails and online platforms than ever before, being able to write clearly and effectively has become an essential skill in almost every aspect of life.
One of the key elements of strong writing is grammar, which serves as the backbone of your written communication. Proper grammar ensures that your message is understood as you intend, without confusion or ambiguity. Whether you're constructing simple sentences or complex ones, understanding grammar rules is fundamental. However, it's important to remember that grammar is not something you master overnight. It requires ongoing practice, patience, and the willingness to learn from mistakes.
That's true, Adam. And while grammar is important, clarity in writing is just as crucial. Good grammar alone won't make your writing effective if the ideas you're presenting are unclear or poorly organized. Clarity means structuring your writing in a way that makes sense to the reader, using appropriate transitions between sentences and paragraphs, and expressing your thoughts in an organized and coherent manner. In other words, clarity ensures that your reader can easily follow your argument, understand your point of view, and engage with the content you've written.
To improve your grammar and clarity, one of the most effective strategies is to start by writing regularly. The more you write, the better you'll understand the nuances of English grammar and sentence structure. Whether you're keeping a daily journal, writing short stories, or composing emails, regular practice allows you to internalize grammar rules and improve your writing over time. For beginners, it's helpful to focus on writing short, simple sentences before progressing to more complex ones. This approach allows you to gradually build your confidence and mastery of basic sentence structures before tackling more advanced topics.
Another great way to improve your writing skills is by reading extensively. When you read especially well-written texts, such as articles, books, and essays, you are exposed to different writing styles, vocabulary, and sentence structures. This helps you understand how professional writers craft their messages, how they organize ideas, and how they use grammar and punctuation effectively. By reading regularly, you'll develop a natural sense of what makes writing clear and effective, and you'll be able to incorporate these elements into your own writing.
Let's not forget about feedback. One of the best ways to improve your writing is by getting feedback from others. Whether it's a teacher, a friend, or a fellow language learner, having someone review your writing can provide valuable insights into areas where you can improve. It's easy to miss mistakes in your own writing because you're too close to it, but a fresh set of eyes can catch errors that you might have overlooked. Feedback also gives you the opportunity to refine your ideas, improve the flow of your writing, and ensure that your message is clear and coherent.
If you don't have someone to review your writing, there are plenty of online tools and resources that can help. For example, grammar-checking tools like Grammarly can be extremely helpful for spotting common mistakes in spelling, punctuation, and sentence structure. While these tools aren't perfect, they can serve as an excellent first line of defense against simple errors. Additionally, many writing platforms offer suggestions for improving clarity, conciseness, and style, which can be useful for fine-tuning your work.
Another strategy that can significantly improve your writing is to outline your thoughts before you start writing. By organizing your ideas into a clear outline, you provide yourself with a roadmap that makes it easier to stay focused and ensure that your writing flows logically. Whether you're writing a short email or a lengthy essay, creating an outline helps you structure your arguments, prioritize key points, and avoid unnecessary repetition.
Practice with different types of writing is also essential. For instance, writing informal texts like personal messages or social media posts can help you focus on casual language and conversational tone, while formal writing, such as essays, reports, and professional emails, requires a more structured and polished approach. By experimenting with different writing forms, you'll become more versatile and adaptable in your writing, which will allow you to communicate effectively in any context.
Lastly, don't be afraid to revise your work. Writing is an iterative process, and even experienced writers often go through multiple drafts before arriving at their final piece. The first draft is just the beginning, and it's essential to revise and refine your writing by checking for clarity, structure, and grammar. Make sure that your ideas are well organized, your sentences are concise, and your argument is strong and supported with evidence if necessary. The revision process is where much of the magic happens, and it's the key to transforming your initial ideas into clear, polished writing.
To wrap up, writing skills are crucial for effective communication in English, whether you're composing an email, writing a report, or engaging in creative writing. By focusing on grammar, clarity, and regular practice, you'll gradually improve your writing abilities. Don't forget to read regularly, seek feedback, and revise your work as needed. Writing is a skill that improves with time, effort, and persistence, so stay committed to honing your abilities and expressing yourself clearly in English. Moving on to one of the most exciting and rewarding skills to develop in language learning: vocabulary building. In the journey to English fluency, a strong vocabulary is not just an asset, it is a necessity. The more words you know, the more effectively you can express your thoughts, understand others, and navigate the complex world of written and spoken English. The challenge, however, is not just about memorizing random words, but learning how to use them correctly in context. In 2025, as the world becomes more interconnected and global communication continues to grow, having a broad and varied vocabulary will be more important than ever. Whether you're communicating with others, writing an email, or engaging in a professional conversation, your ability to choose the right words will make all the difference.
Absolutely, Julia. Vocabulary building is a lifelong process that doesn't happen overnight, but with consistent effort, the results are incredibly rewarding. One of the most effective ways to expand your vocabulary is by focusing on learning words in context rather than in isolation. It's easy to pick up a list of words from a dictionary, but without understanding how those words are used in real-life situations, they won't stick with you. Imagine learning the word elaborate by seeing it used in a sentence like, "Can you elaborate on your point?" rather than just reading the definition. Context gives meaning to the word and helps you understand how it fits into the broader conversation.
Exactly. Context helps you grasp nuances in meaning. For instance, some words may have different meanings depending on the situation. Take the word run, for example. You could say, "I run every morning," or "she runs a company," or even, "the river runs through the valley." The word run takes on different meanings in each sentence. By learning words through sentences and phrases, you begin to understand their multiple uses, which makes your vocabulary much more practical.
And that's where the technique of using flashcards comes in handy. Flashcards are one of the oldest, yet most effective methods for reinforcing vocabulary. The idea is simple. Write the word on one side of the card and its meaning or an example sentence on the other side. But there's a reason why flashcards have stood the test of time. They work. By reviewing them regularly, you constantly reinforce the words in your memory, and the act of actively recalling the words strengthens your ability to use them correctly in your speech and writing. You can make physical flashcards, or, if you prefer a digital approach, there are plenty of apps designed to make flashcard creation and review even easier.
Digital flashcard apps such as Anki or Quizlet have transformed the traditional method into something even more powerful. These apps use algorithms to determine when you should review each flashcard based on how well you know the word. This spaced repetition technique is incredibly effective for long-term retention. For example, if you struggle with a particular word, the app will present it more frequently, ensuring that you don't forget it. Over time, the system adapts to your learning pace, helping you gradually master words and phrases without feeling overwhelmed.
Not only do apps help with flashcards, but they also allow you to add images, sounds, and even sample sentences to your vocabulary list. This multimedia approach further enhances your memory retention because it appeals to different senses and reinforces the meaning of the word in various contexts. For example, when learning the word ocean, you could attach a picture of the sea, listen to the sound of waves crashing, and read a sentence like, "I love swimming in the ocean during summer." This rich combination of visual, auditory, and linguistic cues creates stronger connections in your brain, making it easier to recall the word when needed.
Another technique to build vocabulary is through reading. I know we've already touched on this earlier in the podcast, but it's important to emphasize that reading extensively is one of the best ways to naturally acquire new words. As you encounter new words in books, articles, or even social media posts, try to infer their meaning from the context. Once you understand the meaning, write the word down and make a note of where you saw it. This method helps expand your vocabulary organically and ensures that you're learning words that are useful and relevant to your interests.
That's a great point, Julia. Reading in context not only improves vocabulary but also teaches you how words are used in real conversations or writing. Another way to build your vocabulary is through listening. Podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, or even TED Talks are excellent resources for hearing new words in action. Pay close attention to how speakers use vocabulary naturally and try to mimic their speech patterns. If you hear a new word, make a note of it, and then later research its meaning. Listening helps reinforce the vocabulary you're learning, and over time, you'll begin to understand how words sound in conversation, which can improve your pronunciation and speaking fluency.
Absolutely. And one key aspect of vocabulary building is engaging with words actively. This means that once you learn a new word, you should try to use it in your own conversations or writing as soon as possible. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you use the word in context, the more likely you are to remember it. For example, if you've just learned the word meticulous, try using it in a sentence when talking about your work habits. I'm meticulous when it comes to proofreading my reports. By actively using new words, you're cementing them into your long-term memory.
One additional tip for expanding your vocabulary is to learn words in clusters or groups. Instead of learning individual words, learn related words together. For example, when you learn the word happy, also learn words like joyful, content, cheerful, and elated. By grouping words with similar meanings or themes, you'll start to recognize patterns and be able to choose the most appropriate word for different situations. Learning words in clusters makes it easier to recall them because they are connected in your mind.
Another wonderful technique for building your vocabulary is through the use of word maps. A word map is a visual tool that helps you understand a word's meaning, its synonyms, antonyms, and examples of its use in different contexts. For instance, if you're learning the word diligent, you could create a word map that includes synonyms like hardworking and persistent. Examples of sentences such as, she is diligent in her studies, and its opposite, lazy. This technique helps solidify your understanding of the word and enhances your ability to use it accurately.
Finally, let's talk about using vocabulary apps that are specifically designed to expand your word knowledge. There are apps like Memrise or Babbel that are tailored to learning vocabulary. These apps typically provide vocabulary lists, spaced repetition, and quizzes to reinforce your learning. They also often incorporate interactive exercises that encourage you to use new words in context, making it easier for you to retain them. Some apps even use gamification techniques to make learning fun and motivating.
To sum it up, vocabulary building is a dynamic and continuous process. The techniques we've discussed today, such as using flashcards, reading in context, listening to native speakers, engaging with words actively, and using apps, are all highly effective for expanding your vocabulary. Remember, it's not just about memorizing words, but about understanding their meanings, uses, and nuances so that you can use them accurately and confidently in conversation and writing. Keep challenging yourself, and over time you'll find that your vocabulary grows, and so does your ability to communicate in English. Let's delve into one of the most crucial skills for achieving fluency in English: grammar knowledge. While many learners often find grammar intimidating or tedious, the truth is, understanding grammar is absolutely essential for becoming a confident and fluent English speaker. Without a solid foundation in grammar, it would be very difficult to communicate effectively or clearly. Grammar is like the framework of a house. It holds everything together and ensures that everything fits and functions in a logical and coherent way. Just like how a house would collapse without a strong framework, your communication could easily break down without proper grammar.
You're absolutely right, Julia. Grammar provides the rules that govern how we combine words, form sentences, and express complex ideas in English. Without these rules, there would be no structure to language, and it would be impossible to understand one another. Think about it. The difference between saying, she is going to the market, and going market to, is she, is huge. The first sentence is clear, structured, and easy to understand, while the second one is confusing and difficult to interpret. This is why grammar is so important. It gives us the ability to express ourselves clearly and be understood by others.
Exactly, Adam. Many English learners, especially beginners, sometimes feel overwhelmed by all the rules. Verb tenses, word order, subject-verb agreement, articles, prepositions, and much more. But I want to reassure everyone that while there are many rules in English grammar, you don't have to memorize every rule all at once. The key is to understand the fundamentals and then build upon them gradually. Think of grammar as a puzzle. The more pieces you put together, the clearer the picture becomes. If you start with the basics, like knowing how to form simple sentences, then you can move on to more complex structures as your skills improve.
Absolutely. Let's break it down. The first step in mastering grammar basics is to understand the core building blocks of a sentence. For instance, every sentence has a subject and a verb. The subject is the person, place, or thing performing the action, while the verb tells us what the subject is doing. For example, in the sentence, John eats an apple, John is the subject, and eats is the verb. Once you understand how these basic components work together, you can start forming simple sentences. Once you're comfortable with basic sentence structures, you can then move on to more advanced grammar topics.
Exactly, Adam. Once you have the basic structure down, the next step is to learn about tenses. Tenses tell us when an action happens, whether it's happening now, happened in the past, or will happen in the future. English has several tenses, and each one expresses different times and actions. For example, I am eating is in the present continuous tense because it describes an action happening right now. I ate is in the past tense, indicating that the action already happened. And I will eat is in the future tense, meaning the action will take place later. Understanding how and when to use different tenses is critical to speaking and writing fluently in English.
And when it comes to mastering grammar basics, subject-verb agreement is another key concept. In English, the verb must agree with the subject in terms of number and person. For example, she runs every morning is correct because she is singular, so we use the verb runs in its singular form. But if we said she run every morning, it would be incorrect. This simple rule is easy to overlook, but it's very important for ensuring your sentences are grammatically correct. Mastering subject-verb agreement will make you sound more natural and fluent.
Another important aspect of grammar is learning how to use articles properly. Articles like a, an, and the are used before nouns to indicate whether we are talking about something specific or general. For example, I bought a book means you bought any book, while I bought the book refers to a specific book that both you and the listener know about. Understanding when and how to use articles is a small detail that makes a big difference in making your speech sound more accurate and natural. This is why focusing on grammar basics will gradually enhance the quality of your communication.
Absolutely, Julia. And don't forget prepositions. Prepositions such as in, on, at, by, and with tell us the relationship between things in time and space. For example, I am in the room indicates the position of the speaker relative to the room. She will arrive at 5 o'clock tells us when something will happen. Learning when and where to use these little words is essential for fluency, because they help you convey more specific and meaningful information. If you don't use prepositions correctly, your message could be unclear or confusing.
That's true, Adam. Once you've understood these fundamental concepts, subject-verb agreement, tenses, articles, and prepositions, you can start practicing with complex sentence structures. You can begin to use conjunctions like and, but, because, and, although to connect different ideas and create more detailed sentences. For instance, instead of saying I am tired, you can say I am tired because I worked all day. This allows you to express a cause and effect relationship, which is much more effective in communication. The more you practice forming complex sentences, the easier it will become to speak fluently and naturally.
Yes, and remember that practice makes perfect when it comes to grammar. You can study all the rules in the world, but if you don't apply them in real-life situations, they won't stick. This is why speaking and writing regularly is so important. Try writing short paragraphs or journal entries using the grammar structures you've learned. When you speak, don't be afraid to experiment with new grammar rules. Even if you make mistakes, you'll learn and improve with every attempt.
Another great way to reinforce your grammar knowledge is by reading and listening to English content. Whether it's books, articles, podcasts, or videos, exposure to real-world English will help you see how grammar is used in context. As you read and listen, pay close attention to sentence structure, verb tenses, and word order. This will help you internalize grammar rules without having to memorize them. Over time, you'll begin to use these rules automatically, just like a native speaker.
And don't forget, there are tons of online resources available to help with grammar. Websites like EnglishPage.com, BBC Learning English, and Grammarly offer interactive exercises and lessons on various grammar topics. These resources provide immediate feedback, which is crucial for correcting mistakes and improving your skills. Additionally, grammar-focused apps like Duolingo and Babbel allow you to practice grammar on the go, making learning both fun and flexible.
So, as we wrap up this section on grammar, remember that mastering the basics of grammar is the first step to becoming fluent in English. It might seem difficult at first, but with consistent practice and exposure, you'll start to see significant improvement. The more you understand the rules, the easier it will be to communicate effectively and express your thoughts clearly. So, keep practicing, keep reading, and most importantly, keep using the grammar rules you're learning in real conversations and writing. Fluency takes time, but every step you take is progress toward your goal. Now, let's talk about a skill that often gets overlooked, but is absolutely crucial for becoming fluent in English: pronunciation. Pronunciation is the way we make sounds when we speak. It includes not just saying words correctly, but also having the right rhythm, stress, and intonation. Without clear pronunciation, even if your grammar and vocabulary are perfect, it might be difficult for others to understand you. That's why this skill deserves your attention. Proper pronunciation can transform your speech and make you sound more confident, clear, and professional. It's one of the most important aspects of effective communication in English, and it's a skill you can improve with practice.
That's a great point, Julia. Pronunciation is like the bridge that connects your words to the listener's understanding. If your pronunciation is unclear, the bridge breaks, and your message doesn't get across. For example, if you say three, but it sounds like tree, your listener might be confused. These kinds of small errors can lead to big misunderstandings, especially in professional or academic settings. So, let's dive into how learners can correct common pronunciation errors and take their speaking skills to the next level.
One of the first steps to improving pronunciation is identifying the most common errors that learners make. For example, many non-native speakers struggle with sounds that don't exist in their native language. Take the th sound in words like think or this. It's a sound that doesn't exist in many languages, so learners often replace it with s or z, saying sink instead of think, or ziz instead of this. Similarly, vowels can be tricky. The difference between ship and sheep might seem small, but it's very noticeable to native speakers. Mispronouncing these can completely change the meaning of a sentence.
Yes, and another common issue is word stress. English is a stress-timed language, meaning certain syllables in a word are emphasized more than others. For example, in the word present, stressing the first syllable gives you a noun, a gift, while stressing the second syllable makes it a verb, to give something. Misplacing stress can make your speech sound unnatural or confusing. Intonation is another key aspect. English speakers use rising and falling tones to convey meaning. A simple statement like, "You're going to the park," might sound like a question if you use the wrong intonation. These details might seem small, but they make a big difference in how natural and fluent you sound.
Exactly, Adam. So, how do learners go about correcting these errors? The first step is awareness. You need to identify the specific sounds or patterns you're struggling with. This is where recording yourself can be incredibly helpful. Try reading a short passage or having a conversation and record it on your phone. Then listen to the playback and compare it to how native speakers pronounce the same words. You'll quickly notice areas where your pronunciation doesn't match. Awareness is the first step to improvement, because once you know where the problem lies, you can start working on it.
Once you've identified your pronunciation challenges, it's time to use tools and techniques to improve. One of the most effective tools is phonetic training. English has a phonetic alphabet called the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, which shows how every sound in the language is pronounced. Learning the IPA symbols for difficult sounds can help you understand exactly how to position your tongue, lips, and vocal cords. For example, the tech sound in think is written as theta, and learning this symbol can remind you to place your tongue between your teeth when making the sound.
Another great tool is online pronunciation dictionaries like Forvo or Youglish. These platforms let you hear how native speakers pronounce words in different accents and contexts. For example, if you're unsure how to say schedule, you can look it up and hear both the British pronunciation schedule and the American pronunciation schedule. This not only helps with individual words, but also trains your ear to recognize subtle differences in pronunciation. You can also use apps like Elsa Speak or Speechling, which give you instant feedback on your pronunciation and suggest corrections.
Speaking of apps, don't forget about YouTube videos and podcasts. There are countless free resources where native speakers break down the pronunciation of specific sounds, words, or phrases. Watching these videos or listening to these podcasts can help you pick up the nuances of pronunciation, like how to link words together or use contractions naturally. For example, native speakers often say gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. These small changes can make your speech sound more fluent and natural.
And let's not forget about shadowing exercises. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and immediately try to imitate their speech. You can do this with podcasts, audiobooks, or videos. The goal is to match the speaker's rhythm, stress, and intonation as closely as possible. It's like learning a song. You repeat it until it feels natural. This method not only improves pronunciation, but also helps with fluency and confidence because you're practicing speaking in real time.
That's a great tip, Julia. Another practical technique is to focus on minimal pairs, which are words that differ by only one sound, like bit and beat, or man and men. Practicing these pairs trains your ear to hear subtle differences and your mouth to produce them accurately. You can find lists of minimal pairs online or work with a teacher who can guide you through them. This kind of focused practice is incredibly effective for eliminating common errors.
And let's talk about some physical aspects of pronunciation. Your mouth, tongue, and lips are like muscles, and just like any muscle, they need training. Try practicing tongue twisters like "She sells seashells by the seashore" or "Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers." These exercises help improve your enunciation and control over difficult sounds. You can also use a mirror to watch how your mouth moves when you speak. For example, when making the V sound in very, your top teeth should lightly touch your bottom lip. Paying attention to these small details will help you make significant progress.
And don't underestimate the power of listening and repetition. The more you expose yourself to native English speakers, the more natural pronunciation will become. Watch movies, listen to songs, and pay attention to how words are pronounced in different contexts. Then, try repeating what you hear. It might feel awkward at first, but over time, you'll start to notice improvements. Listening and repetition are the foundation of any successful pronunciation practice.
To sum up, improving pronunciation takes time, effort, and consistency. The key is to practice regularly and use the resources available to you, whether it's apps, videos, or shadowing exercises. Remember, pronunciation isn't about sounding perfect. It's about being clear and understandable. With dedication and practice, you'll see progress and feel more confident in your English speaking abilities. Now, let's dive into one of the most essential, yet underrated skills for mastering English: confidence. Confidence is not just a trait. It's a skill you can develop, and it's absolutely critical for anyone learning a new language. Why? Because no matter how many words you know or how well you understand grammar, without confidence, you may hesitate to use your skills. The fear of making mistakes or being judged often holds learners back. Overcoming this fear and building self-assurance is key to becoming a fluent English speaker. Today, we're going to explore how you can conquer the fear of mistakes and boost your confidence through consistent practice and positive reinforcement.
One of the biggest hurdles English learners face is the fear of making mistakes. Let's be honest, nobody likes to feel embarrassed or vulnerable. But the truth is, mistakes are an essential part of learning. Think of a child learning to walk. They stumble, fall, and get up again. Similarly, language learning involves stumbling through unfamiliar words and sentences. The important thing is to understand that making mistakes is not failure. It's progress. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve.
Absolutely, Adam. Many learners hold themselves back because they want to speak perfectly from the start. But perfection is not the goal. Communication is. Let's say you want to order food at a restaurant in English, and instead of saying, "Can I have a sandwich?" you accidentally say, "Can I have a sandwich?" Guess what? The waiter will still understand you, and you'll get your food. The small grammatical error doesn't take away from the fact that you successfully communicated your message. Understanding this can help reduce the fear of speaking and encourage learners to take that first step. Tools and tips to correct common errors and sound more natural. After that, we discussed confidence, focusing on overcoming the fear of mistakes and building self-assurance through consistent practice.
Cultural understanding was next, where we examined how learning about culture, idioms, and expressions enhances communication. Finally, we explored consistency and discipline, the glue that holds everything together by ensuring regular, focused practice. As we wrap up, we want to thank you for joining us on this journey through the 10 skills you need for fluent English in 2025. But don't let this be the end. Let it be the beginning of a new chapter in your learning journey.
Remember to subscribe to the English Globe on YouTube, where we share tips, lessons, and resources designed to help you succeed. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll be joining a community of learners who are passionate about mastering English.
We'd also love to hear from you. Leave a comment below sharing which skill you're excited to work on first. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and share it with friends or family members who might benefit.
And here's a little teaser for our next episode. We'll dive into how technology can transform your English learning experience, from apps and online courses to AI-powered tools. It's going to be a game changer, so make sure to tune in.
Until next time, stay consistent, stay motivated, and remember that every small step brings you closer to fluency. See you soon on the English Globe.